GotQuestions continues, therefore, and they're talking about the fact that Jesus fulfilled the law. They say, therefore, there's no longer any need to continue with the old rituals. And there you have it in black and white from their writing perspective, from their interpretive perspective. Jesus is bringing a break to the Mosaic rituals. There's no longer any need to continue on with the law of Moses. You don't need to keep doing what Moses instructed, because Jesus is now going to bring this new law, this superior law of grace and love, as if the law of Moses lacked grace and lacked love, or something to that aspect. All right, they continue, or they conclude, Jesus cannot be added to a works-based religion. Now, here's where I really take umbrage or issue with their interpretation. Why do we have to call Judaism a works-based religion? I think this is the centuries-old kind of Christian, stereotype of Judaism, where we've got the Pharisaic, we've got the what did GotQuestions call them? The legalistic Pharisees, right? We even now use the word Pharisee in Christian circles as a synonym for someone who's legalistic, right? Don't play the Pharisee. Don't be a Pharisee, right? Don't be Pharisaic or something like that. Don't be legalistic. And yet, modern, or I should say more current authorship within Jewish and Christian circles, at least in the last, say, 50 years, has really begun to rethink this stereotype. Was first century Judaism really so works-based? What we're really coming to the conclusion is that they weren't so works-based as we think when it comes to answering the question, how does one become righteous before God and get into heaven? It's not so much based on a work as it was based on the identity that you brought to the table, or that you could be born with if you were a native-born Israelite. And so I've done lots of studies on this myself. My Galatians study goes into this. I'm not going to go into it right now, but suffice to say, just woodenly labeling Judaism a works-based religion is really not the best stereotype that I think we should be adopting anymore. It's really kind of outdated to call them that, just kind of a legalistic religion. But they conclude, they say, in the case of the Pharisees, right, they were consumed with their own self-righteousness, and faith in Jesus cannot be combined with self-righteous rituals. Now again, at face value, if the shoe fits, wear it, right? If the guilt is there, then own it. If you are a self-righteous individual and that's all you think you need in order to be righteous before God, and you think all of your works are going to save you, and you think all of your self-effort is going to make you acceptable in God's sight, well then yes, Jesus' faith and his teachings, they can't be combined with self-righteous rituals. And so at face value, on the surface level, this explanation works. But if we dig a little bit deeper into the Judaisms of the first century, we're going to find that there's probably a big disconnect between the way modern Christianity characterizes Judaisms of the first century and the way that they really behaved. So let's keep going through this explanation here. Like I said, this one isn't that long, and I might be able to finish it tonight. We'll see. I go on to say, once again, this is my words, once again, as was seen with Pastor Piper, this view seems to be supporting the notion that Christian culture and religious worship triumphs over Jewish culture and religious worship. Again, there's this whole idea of replacement, the idea that Judaism was broken in the minds of Christian theologians who hold the same particular view. Judaism was in disrepair. It needed to be fixed. And the only way to fix it was to bring in something that was brand new, fresh, and something that had the right perspective. A reboot was needed, is essentially what we're talking about. And in the reboot, Judaism actually gets rebooted and turns into Christianity. And in the reboot, we lose the law of Moses, and we instead gain the law of Christ. And so that's the basic premise of replacement theology is Israel's out, the church is in, Judaism's out, Christianity is in, the Torah is out, the New Testament is in, Old Testament's out, New Testament's in, things like that. So that's where we're going with this questions and this particular discussion. Now, I say in my commentary, I know that this particular answer from GotQuestions.org is specifically comparing legalism with genuine faith. So I have to give them that context, right? If you go back and read their answer, the context of their answer, I think, is to show that legalism is incompatible with genuine faith. And again, don't misunderstand what I'm trying to say. I agree. So in fact, I say it in my commentary, and in that regard, legalism is something a faithful follower of Yeshua should avoid at all costs. Legalism doesn't solve any problems. When it comes to being found righteous in God's sight, when it comes to serving your fellow man, loving your fellow man, right? Love God, love your neighbor as yourself, the two greatest commandments. Legalism is going to trip you up all the time because legalism doesn't focus on God, even though it looks like it does on the surface. Legalism doesn't focus on your neighbor either. Legalism actually focuses on yourself. It's inward facing. It focuses on how can I be perfect? How can I be more righteous? How can I be in a place where I'm dotting all my I's and crossing all my T's and things like that. It loses sight of the real picture, which is God and your neighbor, right? Those are the two you're supposed to be loving, but legalism actually puts you in a position where you're just loving yourself. You're in love with yourself instead. So